The actions I'm taking are not only lawful, they're the kinds of actions taken by every single Republican president and every single Democratic president for the past half-century. And to those members of Congress who question my authority to make our immigration system work better, or question the wisdom of me acting where Congress has failed, I have one answer. Pass a bill.
There is nothing more fascinating to watch in American politics than the trap. The individual, the group, the party who sets a trap for opponents and then waits to see how it develops and if the mouse takes the cheese. The unfortunate realization for Republicans in Washington at the moment is to suck it up and agree they fell into the president's immigration trap. Didn't happen overnight. And now they have to go back on the offensive or realize it may take years to unravel what many still consider the breaking of our Constitution. Our guest is a registered Republican, nationally recognized journalist and author, president and CEO of ImmigrationWorks USA, a national federation of small business owners in favor of immigration reform. Welcome Tamar Jacoby to MidPoint. Tamar, thanks so much for being here.
Great to be here, Ed. Thank you.
Tamar, is it time for the American people to basically call up their representatives in Washington and say, you have embarrassed us for the last time. You let yourself get suckered in, and we are just plain angry about it? Because aren't you people supposed to be more intelligent than that?
I do feel like I don't know if the American public is going to start making those calls, but I do feel like Republicans have walked right into a trap set by President Obama. Look, you know, immigration, we've been debating immigration in Washington for 15 years. Republicans have come a long way. It used to be that Democrats were more eager to pass reform than Republicans, but Republicans have woken up a lot in the last couple of years and are, I think, ready to pass something, not exactly what the Democrats want, not the maximalist package that the Democrats want, but something. But, you know, for Obama, that would be a bad thing because then he wouldn't have the political advantage anymore, the wedge issue of immigration. So Obama doesn't really want to see Congress pass immigration reform. So when he calls on Congress to do it, he asks them to pass something that they can't realistically pass, this maximalist package. But what he did do, very, very cleverly, is he acted unilaterally on immigration, he took presidential executive authority and did a sweeping promise of legal status to 5 million immigrants. And then, predictably, Republicans were very mad at that, and they started jumping up and down and screaming, and smoke started coming out of their ears, and they were right. They're right that is an abuse of authority. But the trouble is the public looks at that, and a lot of Latino voters look at that, and they don't see Republicans talking about abuse of authority. They hear Republicans saying we hate immigrants. And unfortunately, that's what it looks like right now. The president looks like he loves immigrants, and Republicans look like they hate immigrants. And the president's loving every minute of it. And no wonder he's doing town halls and saying, ha ha ha, aren't I a good guy and aren't they a bunch of jerks?
Wait a minute. Now, let me stop you there because you used the phrase hates immigrants. And I think you would be right. Many people do feel that way. All right, Tamar, so then let's move this thing forward here. How do the Republicans dig themselves out of the hole if they have mostly a mainstream media that says they hate immigrants, don't want them here in this country, get rid of them? How do they then counter that when it seems like they have been ineffective in countering it to this point?
Yeah, so I think if they were smart, they would sit down and they would say, look, what can we do on immigration that's a constructive step that makes clear we think legal immigrants are good for America, that doesn't, of course they're not going to want to pass the same thing that the president did. They're not going to want to look like they're caving to the president, but they could do something strong and assertive and positive that isn't caving, that are good constructive steps on immigration.
But is it possible to do that, I guess, is the big question. Is it possible at this stage in the sort of political discourse, the attitude that we have in this country right now, is it even possible for the Republicans to do anything and not be seen as caving to the Democrats?
Well, I think they could make a good stab at it. You know, look, I'm a Republican. I work closely with those guys in Congress. You know, I wish they were. I think they lack communication skills. The right kind of leadership could come up with a bill and could talk about it the right way. The big problem are the 40 guys in Congress who aren't going to let anything happen now that isn't just tearing down the president. There's 40 members of the House, or, you know, give or take a few, that just anything short of continuing to stick it to the president is not going to satisfy them. The trouble is they're trying to continue to stick it to the president, but none of their stabs are getting through. You know, none of their blows are landing. So, you know, they're sort of trying the same thing over and over again. Let's try that same punch. Let's try that same punch. Let's try that same lefty punch, but it never hits them.
Well, then, all right.
You know,
well, Tamar, you've hit on something here, because I ask this of everybody here, and I have to ask you, because we hear this over and over again. It all falls down to leadership on the Republican side. Nobody is willing to man up, I guess, go up against the president, take him on. So where's the leadership then? Who is it? Who do we need? Who do you need in there?
Yeah, I mean, I think poor Speaker, you know, Speaker Boehner, I shouldn't say poor Speaker Boehner, I have a lot of respect for Speaker Boehner. Speaker Boehner has a very tough job. You know, the problem was once upon a time in the 50s, you could say, look guys, we're going to do it this way, and if you don't come along, you're not going to get that bridge in your district, or you're not going to get a committee chairmanship. Leadership can't say that anymore, so there's very little control over the far edges of the party. All you can do to keep your power, he's not even just trying, people say he's trying to keep his job. He's trying to keep more than his job. He's trying to keep power by saying the only way we can be powerful is if we continue to act together.
So you support what he's doing?
That really is sort of a fact of life. Well, he's struggling in a difficult situation. I mean, he's going to have a heck of a next few days. I don't need to pile on him. He's stuck between the obvious need now to get out of this box and the 40 guys in his conference who aren't going to let him out of his box.
All right, so let me put it this. I got about a minute left here. Let me ask you, in a minute that we have left here, your group, small business owners, what specifically do you want to see done with regard to immigration reform to help your group?
Yeah, the guys I represent are small business owners who hire less skilled immigrants in kitchens and hospitality, construction. They want a legal workforce. Sure, they'd love the people who are already here to get some legal status eventually, but most important, they want to grow their business tomorrow. So they want a legal way for workers to come in the future so that they don't have to worry, do I grow my business or do I obey the law?
Do they want all their workers, if they have illegal workers now, do they want them deported? Because it would seem that would hurt their business.
No. They eventually want some sort of legal status too, but more important for them is the future, right? The more important is when they grow their business. You know, right now, they're looking at the cards, they're hoping those cards are legal. You know, most of them are not deliberately hiring unauthorized. There are some, but you know, not the ones asking for reform. So, you know, they're getting by now, but they want to grow someday. And, you know, the people who are here now are going to leave, and they want to transition to a legal footing. So the best thing for them would be a program that allows people to come in the future. And it would be the best thing for the country, so we wouldn't have another 10 or 20 million unauthorized immigrants here in 20 years.
Well put indeed. Tamar Jacoby, want to thank you very much for taking the time to join us. We'll talk again.
Thank you.
All right, take care. What happens when members of the most popular team sport in America rise up as one and take on the governor of a state who just happens to be at the moment considered the front runner for a presidential shot in 2016? We'll ask the sports professor after the break.